So a lot in the news this weekend has been talk about Kamala Harris announcing her plans in 2020 to run for president in the upcoming 2020 election. But there's a lot of people in the black community, the black sector of YouTube, has been real looked at her as real suspect, and even can saying to the point that she does not care for black people, she's anti-black men, and that a lot of black people are saying that she will not receive her vote because she has no agenda and she has a lot of anti-black agendas. Now I'm going to read you an article here. I think this article was made a couple of days ago, and the article says Kamala Harris is campaigning like she knows Black History Month is coming up. She announced her presidential bid on Martin Luther King Day. She's breathlessly recounted her parents met during the civil rights movement. She played Tupac at her book signings, danced to Cardi B, and even joked about smoking joints on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. But will these culture cues be enough to win over black voters? And that's the game they play. They see, you gotta realize they know what to do to try to bring their base in. You know, she says she danced to Cardi B. She plays Tupac at her book signings, and she also says that she starts smoking weed a couple of times. So now she's trying to, fit her way back into the black community and get some street credibility because it works. And some people will be foolish enough to fall for this. Okay, now I'm going to continue. In the past, the wings of wokeness worked well for national black candidates like Barack Obama. Through his command of popular African American culture, Obama subtly appealed to black voters without having directly address anti-racist public policy and alienate moderate white voters. Obama's black charm offensive range from soulful croon of Al Green's Love and Happiness to a Denzel Washington-like impersonation of Malcolm X, where he told audiences they had been hoodwinked and bamboozled. And so basically what they're saying is Obama didn't put any anti-racist policies in. He didn't address it when he was running. Okay, because he didn't want to alienate the white voters. And Malcolm X has said this. Either you're going to be for one side or you're going to be for the other. Okay, you can't be for black people and then you don't want to, and then you worry about what white folks are going to say. You can't be halfway in. Well, I love black people, but I don't want to alienate my white population. You can't do that. Either you're going to be for right or you're not. And that's what, a lot of people suspected Obama to be doing. He didn't talk about any anti-racist public policy. He cried when the Sandy Hook shooting, but didn't cry when Trayvon Martin got killed. Didn't cry when Michael Brown got killed. Didn't cry when Philando Castile or Eric Garner got killed, but cried for them Sandy Hook shootings. He shed a tear. And that's what a lot of black people, they just got so enraged about that, and they were like, wait a minute, you crying for Sandy Hook and knowing that's sad because no children should die, but anybody, no little kid should die with a shooter like that. But when you have these unnecessary killings by police and racist people, you don't say anything about it, and you go out of your way to call them thugs. That's when a lot of people will say, man, I'm through with Obama. Okay, now let's continue. And in spite of his cultural competency, Obama's tenure oversaw an economic recovery that left many black families behind and a proliferation of highly visible police brutality. Today, after both a long honeymoon and hangover with a charismatic black candidate, the code switching playbook may be played out. When Kamala Harris held her first presidential press conference at her alma mater, Howard University, she hugged black students sporting black gold Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity jackets and pink and green Alpha Kappa Alpha sweatshirts. She posed for pictures with beaming black women, their box braids and afro puffs. She shook hands with little curly haired girls in bosom bison hoodies, standing behind a placard of modeled after Shirley Chisholm's presidential design and in front of a plaque bearing Howard's logo. Kamala conjured the imagery and legacy of the historically black university and leaders that includes Toni Morrison, Thurgood Marshall, Zora Neale Hurston, Donny Hathaway, and more. Yet the packaging doesn't seem to be enough to distract from her policy record. Earlier this month, The Atlantic, New York Times, and The Intercept all ran articles criticizing her regressive leadership as California's Attorney General, her truancy policies that criminalize minority families, and her tough prosecution of drug-related offenses. Moreover, the press has fueled the steady stream of social media posts centered around the notion that Kamala Harris is a cop. For months, Black Twitter has dragged, quote, Kamala Harris. There are tweets of, and that's Kamala with a Copmala. Yeah, they mocking her name. And says there are tweets of videos from A&E's Beyond Scared Straight caption Kamala Harris visiting black and brown folks she threw in prison. Tweets imaging Harris locking black people up while bopping to Another One Bites the Dust. Tweets calls Harris as your evil prosecutor auntie who sends your brother to the pen. Tweets envision Kamala as Instagram celebrity at I am Perez in shades and head wraps telling black people you're all going to jail, period. And continuing, the barbs lobbed at Kamala from the press and social media couldn't be further from the hero's welcome Barack received in 2008. Back then, there wasn't a critical interrogation of Obama's credentials on racial equality, as Ta-Nehisi Coates and Ezra Klein note. Barack enjoyed an almost spiritual connection as the first serious black candidate, which allowed him to eschew issues of race with his base. Issues of race with his base. Excuse me. On the campaign trail, the grace and uncritical loyalty that black voters granted Obama let him be the clean candidate for white voters. He was uncontroversial, differential even. He said his kids didn't need affirmative action because of their privileged class position. He chided black people for letting their anger towards historic bigotry keep us from squarely facing our own complicity within the African American community and our condition. And in the first 2 years of his presidency, Obama spoke less about race than any other Democratic president since 1961. He did all this while winning 96% of the black voters in 2008 and 93% in 2012. Whenever Barack needed to shore up his black base, he could summon a sermon or a Jay-Z appearance quicker than you could say Kwanzaa. And it says Barack and Kamala are cut from the same cloth. They both were born at the tail end of the civil rights movement. They both belong to a generation of center-left black liberals once deemed post-racial. They both know how to comport themselves at a Howard homecoming, but also at a Hamptons fundraiser. Like Obama, Kamala pulls from a deep well of wit, celebrity, and cultural relevance. A decade ago, a politician with this profile received all black people's votes, with none of their criticisms, but times have changed. Today, Kamala faces a mountain of critiques, some of them legitimate, others unfounded. And it says, running as a former prosecutor, her past as an instigator of mass incarceration gives many legitimate pause. At the same time, running as a black woman, her very existence has awakened gender resentment Obama never faced. This is new territory for American politics, and where her campaign goes from here is unclear. But after 8 years of Obama, as the African American studies scholar Kanaga Yamahata Taylor writes, a black face in high place is no longer enough. And that's why a lot of people say, look, you're gonna have to promise black people something, you're gonna have an agenda for black people, or black people's just not gonna vote for you. Those days are of being, well, you're gonna have a black candidate, but I'm not voting for you if you don't have an agenda for black people. And that's where I'm at there. I'm not going to just vote for somebody because they're black, or I'm not going to vote for somebody because I don't like Donald Trump, or Donald Trump is in office. It doesn't work that way. And you can't, and people are not going to be fooled with, well, you just want Trump in office. No, that's not going to work anymore. Continuing this article, it says, commenting at the end of the Obama administration, Princeton's Eddie Glaude Jr. railed against damn black liberals like Obama, who was lauded for his celebration of black culture and his performance of black culture cues, but whose policy leaves much to be desired. Because while little has changed in material terms for the vast majority of African Americans, black political life has metastasized far beyond the short-term goals of just electing a black president. As black communities today still suffer the lasting effects of the Great Recession and rally under Black Lives Matters, voters are looking for candidates with policies designed to address the racial inequality they face: police brutality, mass incarceration, the wealth gap. This is the more critical critical environment presidential hopefuls like Harris and likely Cory Booker are up against. And this new terrain perplexes white candidates as much as it does blacks. Long before Obama charged the Oprah hive, Clinton jazzed Arsenio Hall's viewers. For decades, Democrats force-fed the symbols over substance diets to black voters. Like political minds, they rallied on muted gestures, signals, and symbols to provide their most loyal patrons with the least accountable promises, but the jig is up. And yeah, Bill Clinton was on Arsenio Hall playing the guitar. A lot of people said, oh, Bill Clinton was the first black president, but Bill Clinton just played y'all because he signed the bill with the three strikes you're out bill. His wife called black men super predators. So Bill Clinton, he sucked y'all in hook, line, and sinker. And I'm saying to myself, come on, he just like any other politician. But anyway, after 2006 low black voter turnout and increasingly pointed questions from black activists, signs of life has sprouted throughout the Democratic Party. Elizabeth Warren launched her campaign with a video noting the racial wealth gap and addressed HBCU students on how the government itself has systematically discriminated against black people in this country. Kristen Gillibrand committed herself to taking on institutional racism 2 minutes into her presidential bid. Kamala Harris proposed the LIFT Act has earned the endorsement of racial stratification economist and reparations advocate Dr. William Darity. And political analysts believe addressing the racial inequality may even be the new litmus test for the party. I'm going to read, this is the end of it anyway, okay. It says the elevation of anti-racism among Democrats is heartening. Whether this new, more explicit policy catering to black voters will be enough remains unknown, but the message is clear. This is not 2008. This is not 2012. Black voters aren't seeking candidates who can merely rock down the Soul Train line or who can best impersonate their pastor. They are looking for the person with the policies that can help dismantle American racism. So that's one article. So a lot of black people, then they're not just going to just start voting for people because they're black anymore. You're going to have a clear cut policy. You're going to have to promise black people something. Like you can promise everybody else something. That's what Obama did. He promised everybody else something, but didn't give black people a thing. But you can give everybody else something and then leave your own people high and dry. You can't do that. And then I'm going to talk about Kamala Harris and her relationship with Willie Brown. Now, I'm not going to go into this whole article. I'm going to put the article in the description box and you can read from the article there. But it says accusations that Senator Kamala Harris had an affair with a married man have hovered around her since the 2000s, back when Harris first made a run for public office. These rumors stem from a relationship Harris had with former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, but what it had to do with the beginning of her political career has been largely misrepresented. It says Harris was elected to serve as a district attorney of San Francisco in 2003. In 2010, she was elected to serve as California's state attorney general. Harris held that office until she was elected to the United States Senate in November of 2016. Throughout her career, rumors that Harris had an affair with a married man, Willie Brown, and used it to launch her political career have followed. Well, we'll take a look at the facts and provide a brief overview of the situation. The Harris-Brown connection. Harris and Willie Brown had a relationship in the mid-1990s. At the time, Harris was working as an attorney in various city offices. Brown, who was nearly 30 years older than Harris, has been elected mayor after serving in the state legislatures for more than 30 years. So Willie Brown is 80 years old. 81, 82 years old. Harris is 54. So in the mid 90s, she had to be in her 30s. And this man had to be, I guess, in his 60s. So he was in his early 30s and he was in his mid 60s. So it was a 30-year gap difference. It says Willie Brown has led an eccentric, outspoken life, and his exploits with women have been well documented. In 2001, the news broke that Brown had impregnated his top fundraiser, for example. However, the claim that Harris had an affair with Brown, implying not only that they had a relationship, but it was furtive and seedy, doesn't check out. Is it true that Brown has technically been married since 1958? However, Brown and his wife separated amicably in 1982, more than 10 years before his relationship with Harris began. So Brown has been married since 1958. Okay. But Willie Brown separated with his wife in 1982. But you're still married at the same time. Separated, it doesn't mean divorce. You're separated, but legally you're still married. So, you know, that you did have an affair with a married man, but they were separated. Okay. Harris and Willie Brown made no effort to hide their relationship in the early 90s. When Harris first ran for public office in 2003, long after the relationship ended, her previous relationship with Brown didn't help her chances, it actually hurt them. Harris' opponents, incumbent District Attorney Terrence Halliman and local attorney Bill Fazio, turned her previous relationship with Brown into a campaign issue, arguing that Harris could not be trusted to hold Browns accountable as DA because they have been previously involved. And I'm going to stop there, and you can read the rest. You know, I'm going to put the website in the description box. So this is what Harris is about. Now, I didn't make nothing up. I read from an article. I'm going to cite the articles in the description box, so if you think I'm making this up, you can go look at this for yourself. Now, a lot of people will sit here and say that, oh, you're just making stuff up. You just don't want a woman to become president. That is not the case. I don't hate the woman. I don't dislike the woman. I don't know her. But at the end of the day, some of her policies have been anti-black. And just like the article said before, you can't just go play some Cardi B and wear some Converses and rap some lyrics and think that you're just gonna reel people in. You can't do that. Now I'm not gonna tell you who to vote for. I'm not gonna tell you who to support. Because you'll have people say, well, I'm gonna do what I want. You're not gonna tell me what to do. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just reading what she has done in her career. And I'm going to let you, off the information I read, I'm going to let you decide. And I'm going to let you draw the conclusion. Because I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I will not do that. But my thing is, at the end of the day, you have to have policies for black people. You have to have anti-racism policies. This is what you have to have. You have to have something for the black community. You have to have an agenda. Because if you don't have an agenda, it is possible that you're not going to get most of the black votes. Okay? All that double talk back and forth, all that, citing and music lyrics, that's done. And you'll have people foolish enough to do that. They know how to get their base. She knows what she's doing. And if you're going to be foolish enough to fall for it, and then she gets elected in office, and then it's Obama 2.0 or another Hillary Clinton. Now, don't get me wrong. I didn't hate Obama, but I think Obama could have done more for the black community had that he done for other people. Because he did something for the LGBT community, he does something for other people. I think he did something for the Holocaust. I'm not sure. Don't hold me to that. But he never done anything for black people, and that's why people saying, you know what, Obama was in there. It was historical when he first got in because he was the first black president. Actually, he was mixed with white. He had a white mom, but history was made. And after that, a lot of people were just bowing out, saying, you know what, I'm done. So, if you're not going to come with something for black people, if you're not going to have an agenda for black people, people are just not going to vote for you. And Hillary Clinton said something the other day, well, if you don't like somebody, go somewhere else. Okay? Because she had an interview with Jane Pauley saying that, saying that people hate, they don't want to see a woman in the office because they hate women. No, nobody is saying that they hate somebody. But her track record in her career shows that her policies were anti-black. So that's what people are looking at. They're not going out there just all of a sudden just, I hate you. And no, they're looking at what she has done. And you have a lot of people going out there, putting stories out there, putting the information out there for you to look at. We're not putting the information out there for to hate her. We're putting the information out here because you need to know what you're voting for. You need to know what you're going to get if you vote for her.